You know, my little fawn, in life, you only have two ways out. Either escaping or disappearing. But sometimes you're unable to disappear. And escaping from yourself, well, that sure ain't easy. So, when that happens, in your opinion, what's left to do? We can try to find out together if you want. When Diane and I were little, Mary would tell us bedtime stories. She would make up animal fables with all kinds of mystery and conflict. Savage world, she called it. Female wolves, bears, or scorpions would find themselves in imminent danger, but they could always manage it on their own, swindling and betraying the boorish, idiotic males. Mary wanted us to be strong, courageous, and independent women. Except it also made me a bit fearful of the world. Alex gifted me most of these books. It started as a joke, but as time passed, there were more and more. Every time I had an issue, Alex would find the book to address it. Some of the worst titles too. How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, Who Moved My Cheese? I was reading them casually, but they still helped me move on. Alex would call it the emergency library. Every problem has a book, he said. But when I found myself alone, the library didn't work anymore. At first, I stayed in the apartment for days. I wouldn't go outside. I barely recognized my own voice when I opened the door for food deliveries. I could have disappeared. No one would have known. Yet, amid the silence, if you listen carefully, you can hear some things. The air traveling through the lungs, the bowels gurgling, the teeth grinding, even a heart beating. That much is clear now. In fact, Alex and Marie are like two sides of the same coin for me. Marie was a model of strength, of courage, and determination. Everyone admires her, but she is completely unattainable. Alex was my crutch, my unwavering support. I came to believe that I would crumble without him. And I was dependent on her as much as him, unable to manage on my own. But that was before. I guess you understand now, my little fawn. Your dad and I separated. And for the first time in my life, I was living alone. At 34 years old, I had no idea how to do that. And he didn't fix everything. But come to think of it, it may be the reason I began looking for who I really was. I lived surrounded with cardboard boxes for months. I was unable to open them. It was physically impossible, but it didn't bother me much. I've never been a homemaker anyway. Also, if I had an off day, I could always blame it on those boxes, instead of blame it on the life that was put away in those boxes. Do you remember this cup? Every morning you would drink your hot cocoa from it. I had to take it out of the dishwasher so many times. You wanted nothing else. It was in a box for a while. I thought about it sometimes when I thought about you. It was there. One day I pulled it out of one of the boxes. I wanted a hot cocoa, and it slipped out of my hands. My heart skipped a beat in that moment. I held my breath for 1 second. And then, nothing. I just picked up the pieces one by one and threw them in the garbage. I wondered whether I was a monster for not feeling devastated. But now I know that I'm not. I was tired of being sad. Tired. I stayed strong. And it turns out that being able to do that changed everything. That day I realized that I was strong and that I could do it alone. I think I just figured out why I love movies so much. When I was a teenager, my life didn't seem real. I couldn't say for sure that I existed, but in movies, people had pure and intense emotions. I loved that. Any fiction was a documentary to me. When I found myself alone, I fell back into that zone. I watched hundreds of movies, obscure comedies, blockbusters, absurd schlock. I was looking for a template that would explain to me how to feel. Except it didn't work this time. I needed more. From the day you died, I had been sleeping a lot. I was still tired when I woke up, but at least it passed the time. Then everything changed. Sleeplessness kicked in. I spent my nights trying to understand, what am I still doing here? Then I understood. I turned on my computer and I started typing. Not a soap opera episode like I was writing before you died. It was something personal, and I think it was important. A movie script, a beautiful, kind of sad story. It could be a nice feature if I ever finish it one day. I was surprised to feel the desire to write, but now I understand how priceless it was. It allowed me to switch roles. I was no longer the grieving mother, or the young divorcee, or the daughter of. I was writing. I was becoming an author. I was inventing a reality that was just as valid as another. You know, I was telling the truth earlier when I said that there were only two ways out in life, but whether you escape or disappear, in the end you're doing the same thing. Now I understand that I had to find another way, and complete solitude allowed me to face the void and to rewrite myself. It was the only way for me to change completely, from the ground up.